Story 1, 5. Not perfect, but not bad. Bills are paid. My belly is full. No luxury life here, but my needs are met. 5 gives you nothing to complain about and always hope for extra. Story 2. I have amazing friends and a girlfriend. That alone puts it at a solid 8. However, I do not have the best home life and I do not have money for food most days, so that brings it down a bit. Other than that, I could not ask for anything else. Story 3. I have a house, enough money, a wife and kids. I am healthy. I struggle with social interactions, dislike my job, and have no hobbies. My sex life is boring. However, it is better than most, especially considering how chaotic the world is. I would rate my life 7 out of 10. Story 4. Accounting for the rest of society, I would say a 7 or an 8. Accounting for how I actually feel about it, a 3 to a 5. Story 5. Objectively, probably an 8 or 9. We have challenges, but we have a lot of blessings. Subjectively, it depends on what day of the menstrual cycle we are on. Story 6. The situation is not perfect. It could always be better. But I am alive, and therefore I have the opportunity to turn it around. Count your blessings. Story 7. Right now, I would rate it a solid 4. The economy is terrible, and the forced labor for a wage just to survive is an unfair system. Countries are at war and people are dying. Healthcare is inadequate, and everyone wants my money for all of it. So yes, a 4. Story 8. 7, maybe. I have a great husband, a lovely daughter, and many wonderful friends. I also have loving parents who are still around, and my brother and his family are wonderful. We have a home to call our own, and my Christian faith is important to me. Downsides include bad health, possible autism, and regular financial difficulties. We also have problems with our old house that we cannot afford to fix. Apart from those things, life is good. Story 9. I have everything I need in abundance, and I know that I am secure financially, socially, and in health because of Social Security. So I should say 10. But I am sad sometimes, so 3. Story 10. Honestly, right now I would say about 7. I like my university courses, my friend circles, and my hobbies. I would just like to get another job and maybe move to the city I am studying in. Story 11. I am very grateful for what I have in life. I also know there are things I could personally do better. Story 12. You know what? I'd say an 8. I have a good family, a roof over my head, good friends, and I'm young, so I have my whole life ahead of me. I also live on the same planet as Drew Starkey, so honestly, maybe a 9. Story 13. Mental health could be better, but I love what I do. I have a great family and friends. I would say a strong 7. Story 14. Going to put it right in the middle, 5 out of 10. Good days and bad days. Could be a lot better, but at least I am alive. Story 15. Globally, historically, I am in the 9s. Recently, it truly feels like a 4 compared to where I feel I should be. Story 16. I am improving physically, but my lack of relationships is my downfall. Even friendships are lacking. This is something I am trying to improve. Story 17. Since my grandmother died, I believe I will never be able to reach 10 again. But I would say 9.9. I have a great family, a good boyfriend whom I love, good friends, and I am relatively healthy. There is nothing else I could ask for. Story 18. It should be 9. I am very lucky in many ways, with a loving, supportive upper-middle-class family. I am reasonably intelligent, great at sports, and good-looking. I have a profound belief that everyone looks down on me and does not have time for me. This means I am stuck in a job I hate, making tentative plans for a dream job I will probably never pursue. I have only grown enough confidence to do things I really wanted in my life when it is too late. I will probably never have a long-term relationship or marry, despite desperately wanting one. But I feel like I am playing the world's smallest violin, probably a 4 in my head. Story 19. I think my baseline is about 7 or 8. Some days are difficult, some days are great, but overall it is 7 or 8. I am healthy, and so are my parents. I have amazing friends, and I love my job. My cats and dog are the best. My life is good. Story 20. I am grateful for my health and family, but I wish I did not have to worry about money all the time. Story 21. It is pretty interesting doing this existence thing, and I have nothing else to do, so it is stimulating in that way. Story 22. Married 47 years, have 3 wonderful children. Never once picked up by the police. Of course, we struggled financially growing up, but are very happy and content. My wife is battling cancer but fights strong every day. Story 23. 10 before marriage, 6 during marriage, 2 after children in the marriage, 1 during divorce, 8 after divorce, 9 now in my new relationship post-marriage. Story 24. My 5-year-old son has leukemia. We are a family of 4 living on one income of approximately $55,000 per year. Feels like we are sinking financially. Neither of us had the chance to improve our financial situation before our son was diagnosed with cancer. I know things will turn around one day, but it is very difficult right now. If you have a healthy family and your needs are met, I hope you are happy with that. Story 25. 9.5. My life is amazing, and would be a 10 except for the rise of fascism and the seemingly imminent civil war in my country. Story 26. 6? Yeah, 6. Good girlfriend and apartment that has its quirks. But I love it. Good enough job that allows me to do the things I want and pays a pension, but I am never going to be rich and probably will never own a place. Story 27. 10 out of 10. I have many fortunate blessings to count every night. I am grateful for every aspect of my life to date. Story 28. I am married, 21 years next month, and have 2 children. We have no debt and own our house. Both my wife and I are employed. Story 29. Most things in life are a scam. People are terrible to each other. The skill I spent most of my time on this earth developing will soon be replaced by artificial intelligence. Families are losing their homes because of tariffs, recession, layoffs, and poor financial decisions made decades ago. There is intelligent life outside the earth that multiple people have risked their lives to expose. Money is a man-made invention. Suffering is real. The only reason it is not a 0 is that I found someone who is not awful, and we have been together for several years now. This person deserves better. Story 30. 6 out of 10, but improving slowly. I am living with debts that my younger self was hasty to take on, but I am digging my way out and hope to be mostly debt-free, except for my mortgage, by 2027 or sooner. Story 31. Anyone in a developed country immediately goes to a 6. I'm saying 7 because I'm not poor, and I earn enough to own a really expensive motorcycle and a nice car while having a family of 6. That said, I hate my job. Story 32. It's organic, whoever you are. Life is perfect. Death is nothing. No matter how hard it feels, it gets better. I have been there. Story 33. I am a freelance producer and camera operator for television and have not been able to land a job in months. This is usually a busy time, but everything has stopped. I went from producing a show for Netflix earlier this year to scraping by delivering food today. If I did not have a supportive girlfriend, my income would be drastically lower. Story 34. I'm assuming 10 is top-tier life, and the lower the number means not as good. Let me write this and you all guess my number out of 10. I believe you are the only one that adjusts that number. The path to heaven feels like hell, and walking the streets to hell can feel like heaven. Story 35. I love my job. Family stuff is difficult due to being a private chef, but I would not change it. I would rate it 7.8. I need more time off, but we all do. Story 36. It should be a high 8 to 9 out of 10 for a house, car, boat, and so on, but every day I get up disappointed that I have to face another day. Story 37. 11 when with waifu. Solid 8.7 when I get to play Defense of the Ancients. Give or take 1.0 if I am playing with friends. 5 when at work, 5.1 overall. Story 38. I am healthy, I have a good family, a few good friends, a good job that I dislike, no debt, and some savings. No girlfriend, but maybe someday. All in all, 10 out of 10 for me. I would not change it for anything. Story 39. 9 out of 10, I am poor. I have a severe illness that affects my well-being. I do not feel the most acute pain right now because my chronic pain is worse. I am currently trying to prevent my feet from atrophying, which means losing mobility quite quickly. I live on more than 30 acres among the Amish. We can hunt, fish, garden, swim in the pool, and use the hot tub. The house is divided into apartments and is occupied by myself and 5 of my friends, who have all been friends for over 25 years. I am not moving from one trauma to the next. I am in my 6th year of trauma therapy. The people around me are true friends who are there when we need each other. We forgive quickly and give a lot of love and understanding. I feel valued, appreciated, and loved. I live in paradise. I was homeless 3 years ago. I became a young widow at the age of 35. Finding my husband dead at only 38 years old from an unknown heart condition shattered me. I experienced 18 years of the kind of love that people search for their entire lives and never get to experience even for a moment. I have faced 11 felonies for using the only thing that has ever helped my progressive, incurable, degenerative illness. I helped build a nonprofit and worked to legalize my medication. I wrote bills and even lobbied Congress. I never rode the carousels when I went to amusement parks. I always went from roller coaster to roller coaster. It has been a great roller coaster ride. It would be a 10 if my husband had gotten to be on the ride with me for the whole thing. My life is miraculous, and I am very grateful. Story 40. At 10, we have a wonderful life, not rich, just enough to do and get what we need. But I have depression, which takes away some points in my mind. Still, my husband has given us a good life, and I see that, and I am grateful. Forget depression. Story 41. I am a deeply flawed man who lost some genetic lotteries, but I found a decent job, a wife, and have 2 amazing children. Of course, artificial intelligence might put us all out of work, so things could change. However, I got to experience 2 decades of my children's lives. While I would really like to stay around a lot longer and experience more, I can say I have already experienced more good than I probably deserve. Story 42. Right now, I would say I am at a solid 8. I have a decent job and no major health issues. I am happily married, and my children are decent people. Honestly, if I made about $20,000 more a year, I would be at a perfect 10 out of 10. I make enough to pay my bills and provide well, but we are still one low 4-figure emergency away from struggling for a bit again. Story 43. Probably a solid 5. Not great on the financial achievements, but I have completed all kinds of companion quests. Story 44. I would probably rate it a 5 out of 10. I am grateful for the blessings I have, such as my health and many other things, but at the same time, I am not satisfied with my life. I am still at the beginning of it, and I know there is a lot I can change. Story 45. I live in a safe country with good social security networks and easy access to healthcare and public transportation. However, I have no social life, have never dated, and due to the global economy and a decrease in available jobs, I am unemployed. Could I have it better? Yes, but I still have it better than most. Story 46. I am in love, I am employed, I have a reasonable amount of anxiety and childhood trauma, but we are surviving out here. Story 47. I am moving somewhere, but it could be much better. I have moved on after 2021, but it is still not the best. Story 48. I like other people's 5 rating, which means meeting basic standards of life, however their standards are. Based on that, I'd say mine is probably around 3.5 to 4. I am able to afford education. I have a part-time job to pay for gas and other small expenses. I live at home with my parents. I have a solid best friend and boyfriend. However, I lack the discipline to study and exercise, which leads to failing and dropping classes, making me feel worse mentally. Physically, I just feel groggy all the time. I always wish for more friends, but don't put much effort into making them and don't have the money or time for more friends. Story 49. It is around 5 o'clock right now. My family is chaotic, and I am learning new things. It is my birthday, and I am still a child, so nothing is really that bad. I do not know what is bad and what is not, so as far as I know, everything is just normal. Story 50. I was a perfect 10 out of 10 from 2016 to 2019. From 2020 to 2021, It was 0 out of 10. From 2022 until now, it has been 4 out of 10. Story 51, 9 out of 10, mate. Not because I am rich, but because just being alive should be 10 out of 10. Having a family who truly loves you, a wife who truly respects you, and above all, working very hard to meet my needs and my family's. To cut the long story short, being alive with good health is already 10 out of 10, with or without money. All the glory, power, honor, and adoration belong to God and my coding talent. Story 52, 9.5. I am not a billionaire, but I live better than most people in the world. I have to be grateful for that. Story 53, 6. I should not complain. I have it quite good. I am not really happy, but I have nothing to complain about besides myself. Story 54. I have been unemployed since January. I cannot pay my property taxes. My homeowner's insurance is due August 1st, and I cannot afford that. I barely have enough food. Story 55. I do not sleep hungry. I am not happy, but I am healthy. I also have healthy family and girlfriend relationships. Story 56. I have had hardships, experienced deaths, been outcast, and had to grow up quickly, but I feel lucky and mostly loved. Story 57. 6. All things considered. Certain aspects are an 8 or 9, others may be a 3 or 4. Got to average that out. Story 58. 8 out of 10. 28 years old. Pretty happy all around. Life is good. Loving girlfriend. Not poor. Currently living in Hawaii. Not perfect, but far from bad. Story 59. I know that no life is perfect. Well, billionaires and wealthy people's children might disagree. Regardless, being 32 right now, I know there are some things in life I was not able to experience and others I will not be able to experience. But I am content for the most part. I play video games, I am in a band, I love to cook, I have my parents, and I have a job. It is not the best paying job, but it gives me all the time I need to engage in the activities I actually want to do. Could have been worse. Way, way worse. Story 60, so far 9. I have been happily married to this amazing woman for the past 35 years. We have 3 fantastic children who are smart, funny, curious, conscientious of others, aware of the world around them, and enjoy visiting us. We have ample retirement savings and both work jobs we like that pay us well. We have plenty of friends, diverse interests, and go on 2 excellent vacations a year. We have our health at ages 62 and 60. Truthfully, it feels almost greedy to want more from life. Even as I write this, we sit on the balcony during a beautiful sunset. The cat is sleeping on my feet while my wife reads a book and we listen to music. If I could get a couple of novels published, then I would rate it a 10. But know this, it was not an uninterrupted march to a fulfilling life. 22 years ago, we were flat broke, and the world felt as if it were closing in on us. Danger was constantly at the door, and life felt like a joyless slog. Little by little, we dug out of the hole, made adjustments, and made wise choices. And here we are today. So if your life is difficult right now, know that it can be something different. Story 61, 9 out of 10. Blissful marriage. Job I like. Kids make me crazy. I am chubby and bald. Excellent life overall. Story 62, 10. Beautiful wife. Decent kids. Plenty of money. Wait, okay. So 8. No money. But I have a fine, fine honey. Story 63. Just being alive is something I cherish. I have lost everything and yet rebuilt myself and am happy. Not to say I will be perfect tomorrow, but life is good. I am breathing, loved by a person, and overall satisfied with life. Content. Story 64, March 10th. Grateful for everything that I have, and considering it all, it is really great. But it is just hard. Story 65. I am approaching middle age and I am single. All my dreams have been unrealized. I am currently in a city where I know no one and have no friends. I moved here for a relationship that ended just as I started my job. I am suffering from untreated mental health issues. My country is devolving into fascist authoritarianism. However, I have loving parents. I am not starving. I have a stable job. I can still turn things around. Story 66. I have mental health issues that greatly affect my life more than I realize or show. I feel really lonely, and many people have left my life or passed away. I was never lucky with romantic relationships or had real loving connections. My family is very disappointing and somewhat mean, but they worked hard to send me to a good college. I never had to worry about food on the table or asking for an occasional video game. However, I messed up any privileges I had and did not make much of myself. I live in New York and cannot afford it, so most days are not enjoyable at all. I feel stagnant. Many Western people would call that a bad life, but at the same time, I try to consider the billions of sick or impoverished people in developing countries. I have also known many people with even worse mental health issues, people whose families actively abuse them or sabotage their lives, people with no safety net, and so on. My body and mind are still in decent condition. I do not have a missing limb or severe asthma. I wanted to feel better, but when I reached the point of losing hope for the future, that significantly lowered my outlook. Story 67. Have a home, very minimal debt compared to most, eat at least 3 times a day, time for leisure, loving family, employed, have savings, and last but not least, healthy. Not rich nor wealthy by any stretch. If you have all that, your answer should also be 10. Story 68. 8 out of 10. I am 20 years old, going to college soon for something I love. I am married, and we live on our own. We are not doing great financially, but we get by and we are happy. Story 69. 9 out of 10. I would love to have more money, but it would mean I would have to work more since I am only working part-time at the moment. I have a young child, and my priority is spending time with her, so having more money will have to wait. Everything else is perfect. Story 70. 7 out of 10. I am 23. Things are improving financially, and I am starting a family. There is more to be desired, but I am on the path to achieve my goals. Story 71. I have anxiety and autism. These past 5 years have been the worst, excluding 2023. I do not think I will go to college or get a job. I barely have friends. Life is difficult. Story 72. Just gotten out of fully controlling parents' hands. Life is in shambles. I have been placed on academic suspension from university, and I don't know how that will affect my study visa. I don't have much money and only enough to survive for the next 2 months. I am working 80 to 100 hours a week to make ends meet at minimum wage. I am lost and really don't know what is next with my life. Cannot go home either. Story 73. 2. Up from a 1 a few years ago when I almost drank myself to death. In 2006 to 2007, I was at my highest level of 6, maybe 7. Before the coronavirus pandemic, I was at a 5. I wish I was back there. Story 74. Despite my health being a 3 out of 10, I would say my life is a 7 out of 10 overall. It took a long time, lots of therapy and meditation, acceptance, and a wonderful and loving partner, as well as good friends, to get here along with my little fur baby. I am blessed in many ways. Story 75. I would rate my life 8 out of 10. Fulfilling and meaningful, but with room to grow, make mistakes, and figure things out. Story 76. At 10, I have a job, keep friends from my school days. My pets are long-lived. My family is complete and growing. I have my own home and good health. Story 77. 50 meters here. 30 years ago, 8 out of 10. 25 years ago, 2 out of 10. 20 years ago, 5 out of 10. 15 years ago, 7 out of 10. 10 years ago, 3 out of 10. 5 years ago, 8 out of 10. Today, 9.5 out of 10. Story 78. I don't feel I have lived up to or used my potential to the best of my abilities. I certainly haven't interacted with enough women yet to stop craving their company. Story 79. I am poor in college and I am not able to make an academic comeback. It is deteriorating. I am somewhat happy, but still depressed. Story 80. I stayed with my grandmother. I love my grandmother. The days with her were the most beautiful days of my life. Story 81. Right now, I am about a 3 out of 10. I am unemployed and watching my bank account decrease by approximately $1,000 each month. I have applied for unemployment insurance, but that only covers about my rent. Story 82. Financially secure, married, and have a beautiful baby boy, a successful career, close friends, and good relationships with family. Could some things be better? Sure, but I am blessed. Story 83. Single and thought I would have children by now. However, my house is almost paid off, and I have great friends and decent health, except for a few changes I need to make. 7 out of 10. Story 84. 10 below 0. Tried to quit Tuesday, but my cat reminded me he needs me to feed him. No family. Friends are all 20 years older than me and cannot be bothered since they are retired. Debt. Struggling to pay my bills. Cannot afford groceries. I am sure my corporate landlords are filing to evict me. Seriously not sure what the point is. Know those people that play The Sims and always do so badly the sim usually ends up dying in a fire making waffles? I am that sim. I'm just too smart to die like an idiot. Story 85. 4.5 out of 10. Nothing happens, no social life, and the world does not welcome people of my age. I understand that most people of my age are not very mature, but it is unfortunate that this does not give me a chance. Everything seems to be getting more bland, and I have been in a rut for about a year. But I have music, family, and no real financial concerns, so it could be worse. Plus, basically anything that is not going well for me right now will improve eventually. Story 86. I am healthy, and health is wealth. When sick, all you have is the wish to get better. Money comes and goes. Story 87. Solid 6. Could improve, but I am lucky to even be where I am right now. If you asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have said 3 or 2 though. Story 88. 9 out of 10. I have a few struggles, but they are all manageable. I am approaching 40 and do not have back or knee pain. My wife is my best friend. My children are wonderful. I like my job and hobbies. I am healthy, and I am making slow but steady progress on a couple of lifelong, adulthood diagnosed mental illnesses. I am very lucky. Story 89. Right now an 8, but I am a chemotherapy infusion nurse, so I am just happy to be alive most of the time. Watching people die around me monthly or weekly has changed the way I view life. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Story 90. I have experienced a lot of depression and am very poor despite having a good salary due to debt. However, I am very lucky and fortunate in many ways. Story 91. Happily married to an objectively beautiful woman, we started dating at 19. We share 4 children together, 2 girls and 2 boys. I retired at 32, and she has never had to work since we married. Our children are homeschooled and excelling. I visit my hometown, where my parents and some of my siblings live, once a year. I am taking my wife and children to Italy for a month this fall, and I am in good health. 0 complaints. Story 92. I think I would give it a 7. There are some hard parts, but also many little happy moments. I am still figuring things out. Story 93. 10 out of 10. I am healthy and my loved ones are healthy, so that alone makes me feel incredibly lucky to start with. Whenever I catch myself complaining about material things, this comes to mind quickly and helps me feel less anxious and more grounded. Story 94. 6.5 out of 10. I only have a dead-end retail job, but I am healthy and currently have a good work-life balance. Story 95. Let's see. I am not Indian, Peruvian, Venezuelan, Cuban, North Korean, South Korean, Bolivian, or African. I am white. I have health, food, hot water, internet, and normal member size. However, I have not posted about it for a long time, and I am not 1.80 meters tall. So I would say a 9. Story 96. A solid 8. Following my passion, I am still working in my career but no longer taking back-to-back contracts. I am less stressed and calmer than I have ever been. I am grateful that my health has finally improved. I have the support of a wonderful partner and family, and I have a hilarious child. Story 97. 2 out of 10. I have everything, yet no peace of mind. Life feels like a cosmic joke only a few people understand. Sometimes, to truly get it, you have to have everything, just to realize that nothing is the answer. The absence of negative emotions is worth more than any fleeting positive. Everything capitalism promises won't make you happy. A woman isn't the answer. Your brain only cares about survival, not your happiness. Life has no inherent meaning, only the illusion of one you must create and hope yourself buys into. Story 98. 7. I have a decent life. One wife, 2 children, one apartment, one well-paid job, and no issues with my family or siblings. I still have room for improvement. A car, more savings, more traveling, and starting my own business. Story 99. Funny question to find at my most unsure stage in life yet, but I feel like a 7. There are not many things I can complain about. Story 100. 9 out of 10 stable family, surrounded by nice people, endless free time and opportunities to pursue the hobbies and projects I wish to create, with an audience that enjoys and encourages the art I make, living in a decent and safe city and country, able-bodied with no health issues, and having plenty of food and goods in the fridge and pantries. -1 point due to a brain that refuses to think as positively as it should, given my fortunate living circumstances, which impairs many social aspects of my life and causes suffering. Story 101. About a 3.5, probably my literal lowest, but my overall feeling is actually far from my lowest feeling of being low, if that makes sense. Story 102. I would lie if I said 10, but I am blessed with many things. I should say 10. However, I find it hard to be satisfied. Story 103. I live in a rundown apartment in a rough neighborhood and rely on Social Security. I still have to work about 20 hours a week to keep body and soul intact at age 72. The amount of assistance available to people like me is minimal to non-existent, wrapped in so much bureaucracy that it makes one feel powerless and without control. How about you? Story 104. I feel like it is hard to change my life and the way my brain works. I mean, it is possible but very hard. I am 27. Overall, my life was not as great as I expected. I need a change, and I need it now. The worst part is I have debt and entered adult life with debt, and I could not keep a job. It is bad, and I think I have depression that makes it harder to do things because of the thoughts linked to it. I cannot stick to one decision and I tend to run away. Story 105. 10 out of 10. I got divorced from a super dysfunctional woman who didn't respect my children. Now it's just me and my kids having a great time in my new big house. She didn't get anything but had to pay, and my father just granted me a substantial amount of money for dividend investment, so I'm set for life. I'm motivated again, doing what I love, and I've met the cutest girl. If you had asked me a year ago, I wouldn't have had the courage to answer how my sad life was doing from 1 to 10. Thank God. Story 106. 10 out of 10 beautiful woman, amazing children, very good friends, nice job, house and dog. My parents are alive and healthy. I have nothing to complain about. Story 107. I live in a safe country. I have access to free education and healthcare, and I receive financial support from the state while studying. I have friends and family who care about me, and I have a lot to be thankful for. However, even if I shouldn't have, I have struggled with depression for a long time. It leaves me feeling empty, drained, tired, exhausted, and numb. I am supposed to be happy, yet somehow my own mind works against me. Objectively, my situation is above average, but I don't know why it doesn't feel like that. Story 108. 4 out of 10. I am broke, gluten intolerant, and queer, but I love the sun on my skin and the leaves rustling in the wind. I love every sensation life offers. So, I just rate my current life so low. What the future may hold, I do not know. Story 109. 8.9. Great relatively rich family who made sure I did not become a spoiled brat and ensured I have good principles, good friends, a good girlfriend, no drama, decent intelligence, and fitness. I love it. Story 110. I give 10 out of 10. I have experienced many ups and downs in my life, but I still love my life. There are good days and bad days, but they are teaching me a lot, so 10 out of 10. Story 111. So I just started taking selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, And let me tell you, my life improved from a 4 to like an 8, sometimes even a 9 or 10. Story 112. Now 6, future 10. As a young person, I can surely say that people my age are ruining their lives one by one. They vape, are only interested in girls, and engage in gang activities. Just don't be like them and live your life like a normal person. You will already be ahead of them at the age of 18. As a Turkish boy, our country is starting to look like Brazil, maybe India, but it's a little bit uncertain. If you read this post, just start reading books or distance yourself from people who hold you back. Maybe do both. If you successfully develop yourself beyond them, society may actually reject you. What am I writing right now? Just be different. Prove them wrong. Story 113. I am happy, make enough money to not be concerned about it, and live an overall good life. Not too luxurious because I am simply not the type for that. But I do not need to think twice when I want to get something. It would be a 9 if I found a partner to spend my life with. But oh well, 8 is already good enough. Story 114. Others would rate it a solid 10. But I am difficult and always want something better, so I would go with a 7 at most. Story 115. About 6 years ago, I went to a good university. I have a couple of friends, and I am thankfully able to feed myself when needed and enjoy some alcohol when appropriate. But that's about it. My family is falling apart. My mother is not giving me my passport, so I cannot see my grandparents. My relationship life is vast and empty. I also struggle to make meaningful relationships with people, but I am working on that. Story 116. Life is challenging sometimes, but I have survived a lot, and that makes me even more grateful for the blessings I have today. Story 117. If I am thinking against the world, 3 out of 10 relative to my location, it is not great. But at least I am alive. Story 118. 0 out of 10. Would not, under any circumstances, do any of those if you could do your life over with knowledge you have now situations. No, I would never do this life over, no matter what. I am done. Story 119. Due to someone wanting to protect their lies, my life has been almost destroyed. I have no job. Despite my efforts and having the best experience in the field, I am not getting any job I apply for. People I have helped in the past, including the liar, have turned their backs on me when I had nothing. Still, I am not giving up hope, even though it is difficult. Story 120. Hard to rate as I have never been another person, so I have nothing to compare it to. I believe in determinism, so part of me wants to say 10 by default. That being said, I could certainly be much happier. If the metric is based on happiness, I would say around 6 to 7. Story 121. If we are doing a real scale where 5 is average, I would say mine is a 7 to be honest. There is a lot I want more of, but if I look around me, I have some decent friends. Not the deep connections I crave, but I have solid ones. I have every chance to study thanks to my parents and am fairly healthy, so I have no right to complain. Story 122. My life rating is 8 out of 10 because I am usually calm and happy, but sometimes I feel depressed due to some issues. Story 123. Raised in a healthy family environment, in a place I consider a nice part of the world. I am studying and looking forward to earning a degree. I have a long-distance girlfriend whom I will soon see again. We passed the honeymoon phase and accepted our true selves. Despite some bad moments, I can say I am mostly serene. The air conditioning is broken, so -1 point for that. Story 124. Though I have read that both in current times and ancient times, there are people who live such dreadful and miserable lives that you have to truly know their misery firsthand. If given the option at the start, I would have simply not chosen it. Story 125. I don't know if anyone else has mentioned this, but over time, you should naturally start rating your life a 5 no matter what because it becomes the norm. Even if you are objectively succeeding every day with your achievements and connections, you would still come to see that as normal, so what was a 10 would seem like a 5. The same goes in reverse. This is just something I noticed in my own life. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.